after 5 o'clock, maybe 5:10, and I'll move forward with the script for remotely conducting open meetings, confirming member access. As a preliminary matter, this is Harbor and Shellfish Advisory Board Chairman Andy Lowell to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. So far, everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
I can hear you.
Thanks. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Mr. Brace,
Here.
Mr. Franzuto,
Here.
Mr. Sidlowski,
Here.
Ms. Andrews.
Here.
Okay, do we have anybody else, Mr. Bossy?
Not yet, but they'll, as they come in, it says waiting to be admitted, and then I click admit, and then they join in.
Okay. Mr. Pronk? At this point absent. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative.
No,
Do we have a member from Natural Resources with us?
no staff and no, you would see them on your screen. If you
Okay.
click,
All right.
if you click up at the top where it says,
I've got you all there.
yeah, okay.
All right. Didn't know if somebody else was out in the looms there. Just asking. Thanks for confirming, Peter. Anticipated speakers on the agenda. If we have any, we will have them state their name. Introduction to remote meeting. Good afternoon. This open meeting of the Harbor and Shellfish Advisory Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, Harbor and Shellfish Advisory Board is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. For Zoom meetings, please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and to take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Meeting materials, all supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I note otherwise. Meeting business ground rules. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in a conversation with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. For items with public comment, after members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to those members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names and be acknowledged by and speak through the chair. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. I've already introduced you all. We can move forward, I believe, to an approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve this agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All
Second.
in favor?
Aye.
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 Andy, you have to do it by roll call.
Mr. Sidlowski?
Aye.
Mr. Brace?
Aye.
Mr. Franzuto?
Aye.
Ms. Andrews?
Aye.
Aye, Mr. Lowell.
And Mr. Bossy.
Mr. Bossy, thank you for joining us.
Sorry, I couldn't find a link.
Like you've been working on your can.
Okay, we have Mr. Bossy in attendance. Just once more, confirm your attendance by stating your name.
Dave Bossy.
Thank you. Draft minutes for February 18th. Has everybody had a chance to review?
Yep.
Any changes or adjustments need to be made?
I did notice, this is Ginger. I did notice one typo, but I can't remember now where it was. It was an extra from.
All right.
I don't even remember which thing it was in, but it was
Okay.
a minor typo.
Simple enough. I believe we could probably still approve that, and Mr. Brace can find the extra from and delete. Yes?
Yes, I can do that. I can do a search of the document and find that word.
Okay. Do we have an approval for draft minutes for February 18th? Mr.
So
So
Bossy?
moved.
Okay. We have a move from Ginger, a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Franzuto. Mr. Franzuto, all in favor? Mr. Franzuto, yes?
Aye.
Mr. Brace?
Aye.
Ms. Andrews?
Aye.
Mr. Sidlowski?
Aye.
Mr. Bossy?
I'll abstain. Oh,
Okay. I vote in affirmative. Aye. Mr. Lowell? Draft minutes, June 16th, 2020. Any changes need to be made? Noticed by board members? All in favor of, or do we have a motion to approve the draft minutes of June 16th?
This is Ginger. So moved.
Second.
Second from Mr. Sidlowski. All in favor by roll call, Mr. Brace?
Aye.
Mr. Franzuto?
Aye.
Mr. Sidlowski?
Aye.
Mr. Bossy?
aye.
Ms. Andrews?
Aye.
Mr. Lowell? Aye. Thank you. Marine Department report. Not seeing participation or representation. Natural Resources report, still the same. Nobody's logged in, Mr. Brace?
Not yet.
Okay. Any comments from the board about Marine Department report, Natural Resources report?
I should have sent this to Sheila when I saw it, and I just haven't done it yet. About a week ago, I was walking up on the west side of Pocomo Point. I walked down to the flats in front of Pocomo Meadows and walked there with my dog and look at birds. And on the way back, I don't know how you noticed it before, but if you're coming down from Parkmo Point, underneath the third set of stairs was 4 very large plastic containers that looked like gas cans, and they had a clear hose coming out of the top and then some sort of stopper in there. And I hefted 3 of them. They were full, and they had the smell of gasoline that you need oil to put in with it, which I guess is my guess is they were for fueling jet skis. But they're sitting right there on the rack line, and I thought, well, that's not a very good place to leave them, right? I mean, if they get washed out,
Certainly.
shouldn't they be kept up, up on the first landing of the stairs? So I didn't know. I should have sent that to Sheila, and I don't know if they're still there, but if we get a really high tide and they get washed out, then that's an issue.
Well, or some wave action from passing boaters. Peter, this is totally different than the oil you found at Pulpus Harbor, correct?
Yeah, no, these are,
You said this is Pockama Point.
yeah,
Wow.
third set of stairs down.
Wow. I haven't noticed jet ski activity in the harbor. Have you?
I haven't,
I didn't think they were allowed in the harbor.
and it could be for a boat as well.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
There's some, Mr. Chairman, there's some exclusionary zones. I don't remember them right off the top of my head of where they can and cannot operate. But yeah, the fuel thing, that's just an accident waiting to happen.
Certainly. That's disturbing to hear. It's another example of irresponsibility that somehow not quite sure, how we get a handle on something like that. It's a kind of a remote area. It's how do you watch everybody all the time, especially with fuel, though? How do we educate? That's quite a find, Peter.
Well, I gotta go see if they're,
So did you move it be up above the high tide line? Did you say?
Well,
No.
it being on private property.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then further down the beach toward Pockamo Point was one of those same cans, but it was empty. So I figured the tide caught it and brought it down.
Wow.
So,
Wow. How often do you walk out there, Peter?
well, low tide is hitting now in the morning. So, whenever it's low tide, I like to go there because my dog likes to go in the shallow water.
Yeah.
And
Have you been since?
no, but maybe tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, you'll know to keep your eye out for it if you still see one of those cans around. Maybe it's still worth giving an alert to
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
dealers to the department, and maybe they can. Do you have an idea of what address it was in front of?
Hard to tell. It's hard to. The only address that you know for sure, that I know for sure, is the Gamble one because it's the last on the left, and then, yeah, I really don't know the address, but if you could probably look at it on town website and find out.
Okay.
Peter, if you go back there and find that again, would you mind either letting me know or text Sheila or something just to make them aware of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Now that we're talking about it, I'll go there tomorrow for sure.
That'd be great.
Mr. Chairman, this is Ginger.
Yes, Ginger.
I would recommend that if one of us finds something like that, that we take a picture.
I did.
If at all possible.
I took a
Okay.
picture. And what I'm saying to you now is that I'm remiss in sending Sheila a notice about it. So, so tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? This is public comment time for Marine or Natural Resources Department report. I know we don't have a report from either one, but if anybody has any thoughts or ideas, I have not heard anything from Sheila about participation or passing the torch to somebody in her department to participate in our meetings. So, I mean, summertime is a busy time. Last summer at this time, she was surprised that we were even meeting. Didn't think that we met July and August. But as you all know, we've voted to have just one meeting this month and next month, and pretty sure she's aware of that.
She knows that.
Yes.
She knows that.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, this is Ginger.
Yes, Ginger.
I don't know if this is in our purview or if we have any interest, but apparently there's been some change at the land bank parking lot at the I guess it's the one with the dock there. It's at the foot of is it H Street or I Street, where they're not letting people from Tuckernuck park there overnight anymore.
Okay. I haven't heard anything about that. Not aware of that. I mean, Tuckernuck's a unique situation. I mean, if you spend time on Tuckernuck and have property over there, I would imagine you're entitled to a parking spot someplace in Mattocket. Maybe Mr. Franzuto knows something about.
No, there was, and maybe it's fallen by the wayside, but there was an agreement that they were allowed to use that landing to load, unload, and overnight park. I'll call the land bank and find out. I'll talk to Savetsky and find out what's changed. I mean, the Marine Department funded the ramp and donated the float for that years ago. So I'll follow up on that. They're not guaranteed a place to park in Mattocket, but we've always certainly accommodated that. They can park at Jackson's Point in the town parking lot. But I'll follow up with Savetsky on that to make sure that things haven't changed or whatever. Ginger, can I ask how you found that out?
There was a Tuckernuck landowner that I know who had a problem. He said usually at the beginning of the season he gets a couple of tickets from the new cops, but he mails them in with an explanation and they void the ticket.
Okay,
But
well,
he said he talked to Mr. Savetsky and they said that there was no overnight parking.
okay, well, a couple things about that. They shouldn't be ticketing there, having been the parking enforcement officer for 6 years. Second of all, you cannot mail a ticket in with an explanation and get the ticket voided. There's only 2 people in the town that can void tickets, and that's the chief of police and the parking enforcement officer. So let me find out what's going on, and it just doesn't, usually it's one of those things that at the beginning of the season, you have to remind everybody what the rules are or what the previous rules were, and things kind of smooth themselves out. But let me find out.
Okay, thanks.
Ginger?
Are we talking about?
Go ahead, Peter.
All right, Peter.
Are we talking about the F Street Pier? Because that's town, isn't it? Are we talking about land bank town?
F Street is the town, but we're talking about probably the parking. Well, not probably. It's the parking lot that's obviously on the water side, a little bit further towards town, as you're coming back towards town on Tennessee Avenue.
Okay.
there's a large parking lot there that's been fenced with a walkway. There's a walkway and a ramp and a float that was used for people to overnight park.
Is that,
It gets abused from time to time from people leaving their trailers there and that sort of thing. But that's I don't think that's the issue. But anyway, I'll try to find out what's going on.
Ginger,
Ginger?
is that correct? The location that Mr. Franzuto just described?
I believe so, yep.
Okay.
I think it is H Street.
All right. Mr. Sidlowski.
Ginger, having had a ticket last year, I found out that there is a weekly hearing. I don't know if they're doing it in the summer. It's typically, I think, Wednesday. It's on the website.
Yep.
And I actually went in on a Monday to find out about the hearing, and I showed someone a picture, and they said come back Tuesday, and they said give me your ticket, and they tore it up. But there is a weekly hearing that you go to, and they adjudicate tickets then. So
Mr. Chairman, I did that job for 6 years, and again, I'm actually going to call the chief of police on this one. They can't tear a ticket up. They can't. Nobody can take that ticket from you,
well,
except for those two people. Okay, they can't do that. It's against the state law, and
Well, what do they
I don't
do
mean
if
to be a pain
what
about
they-
this. I'm just saying
What do they do?
there's a process.
What do they do if they issued the ticket improperly?
It gets voided by the parking enforcement officer.
Oh yeah, well they took it to the parking enforcement officer to be voided,
Exactly.
but I didn't have to go to the hearing because they went before the hearing and said, look at this picture. That's much more than 10, 20 feet or whatever from the curb. And so they said, give me the ticket, we'll get it voided for you. And they took it to, they did talk to the parking enforcement officer about it.
But I don't mean to belabor this, Mr. Chairman, but the issue is that even when I got a ticket, the only person that could deal with my ticket was the chief of police.
Yeah.
The police officers who got tickets would have to come to a hearing. They can't be swapping favors back and forth, or I'll take care of yours, you take care of mine. It doesn't work like that. And anyway, I don't mean to belabor it. It's just, I'm going to find out.
Well, I was a very lucky boy.
The whole thing is probably out of our purview, but if you're able to step in and find out some more information, Dave.
Well, the information I'd like to find out is why they're ticketing on land bank property.
Yeah.
Why the town CSO is ticketed on land bank property.
And it would be nice to know what type of concession is given to Tuckanuck residents as far as
I'll
parking.
find that out too.
Certainly there must be some heart out there somewhere that, that there's got to be a need for that.
Most definitely.
So, I mean, they are part of Nantucket. They do pay property taxes out there. So,
Mr. Chairman, anybody who gets a ride over there in a boat, like I know the Sousas charge people for them to take them over there. If you're an infrequent visitor to Tuckanuck and you get to go over there and spend a night, or you're somebody who rents a place for a week and you go over there and you have to leave your car somewhere that's in Mattocket, what do those people do?
right.
Do they leave their car, and where can they leave their car? I mean, you can't park overnight in a town lot. So
There's a placard situation for that. I mean, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that the procedure, process, whatever, has fallen through the cracks, and very similar to when Smith Point was closed and we had to take, because of birds, and we had to take people by boat. The only access for them to get to Smith Point was by boat because the roads were closed because of endangered species. And there was a placard situation for that. So let me, again, it's well outside our purview, but it would be nice to just kind of know what the heck is going on.
Just for clarification with that, Dave, you mean the 3 residents that were on the reconnected Esther's Island needed escorts to get beyond the beach closures
Right.
for the birds. All right. Just in case any of the other board members weren't aware of that. I can remember when that happened, when the beaches were first being closed for mostly the piping plover. Smith's Point was the first beach to be closed to beach vehicle access, and the 3 houses that on what was Esther's Island is now Smith's Point again, but I think we all still refer to it as Esther's Island, had trouble accessing their homes. So, all right. Anything else pertaining to Marine Department, Natural Resources? We'll move into old business. Possible changes to regulations of liveaboard boats in the harbors. As you all know, we need Sheila for this. We have I'd ask board members to keep your thoughts and input on this on the front burner. So when we do have the chance to discuss this properly, it's fresh in your minds, fresh on the notes somewhere. If any board members, have seen anything this summer, heard anything new, I'm all ears. We'll have a short amount of discussion on this if necessary. If not, we'll continue. Board members, anything?
No.
Okay. Collection and containment of hazardous materials. I'm guilty of making no progress in the last 2 weeks. So unless somebody wants to add something, we'll continue this discussion.
Okay.
The public outreach is the same at this point. I've made no progress in the past 2 weeks. It's been a very busy 2 weeks for me. So if there's no discussion there, we'll continue. If I don't see any hands. All right. Anything new with coastal resiliency?
Yeah, I guess our meeting will be the 3rd. It'll be, our next meeting is the 21st, so I don't have a report.
Okay. July 21st?
Correct.
Okay. Do you, Peter, do you have an update for us on the Shimo Pier application, when it will be heard at Concom?
Yeah, the update is that the applicant has formally withdrawn that application.
Wow.
So they,
That was a big deal.
Tom, yes. Wow.
I believe that was done at the last Concom meeting, which was, I think, it was supposed to be, I heard from the Land Council, and then they were saying it has to be, the attorney has to show up and formally withdraw. So that was either happening last Wednesday or tomorrow. But either way, it's done. It's not going to happen.
Good.
Thursdays they meet, Peter.
Thursday is okay.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So
Wow, that's huge. I hope that becomes official. And to everybody involved in putting pressure on this application, I applaud them. So that's wonderful news. Any other discussion on old business? board members. New business, election of officers. We've had our election. Mr. Franzuto's back on board with us. Who else was voted back in?
Mr.
I
Brady.
think Peter.
Mr. Brace. Thank you. Sorry, Peter.
It's all right. Mr. Chairman, I would say we should probably wait until we get at least 6 people, and then, I guess you speaking to the whoever, we should wait till.
It's nice. I agree. It's nice to have a full board, and I'm fine with that, or at least a super majority, we'll call it, with 6 members. So certainly fine with postponing that till a later date. Now, we made the decision at our last meeting to have our August meeting a workshop. Does this affect if we happen to have a fuller attendance at that point? Are we capable of conducting election of officers at a workshop?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
just whoever becomes chairman takes over.
Okay.
Do that. We can do that in the beginning.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Franzuto?
Peter, wouldn't it have to be posted with the election of officers as part of the agenda?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Even though it's a workshop?
Even though it's a workshop. I mean,
Oh, okay.
the workshop is the workshop is whatever we want it to be.
Oh, okay.
And given that we don't always get, a full board at the meetings, we should take advantage of that when we do get it.
Yes. All right. And I
One
thought
thing,
there were some restrictions on the workshop layout as far as voting. Am I mistaken?
I don't think so. It's just a meeting where you're instead of having a full slate of items, you're just gonna have one item, and you're gonna take the whole meeting to talk about it.
Okay.
I
Mr.
have a question.
Sidlowski?
Didn't you say you wanted to have 6 people minimum? We have 6. So we have all but one, and it's hard to figure we might not get everybody.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why we're not voting now.
You're right. Yeah, we have 6.
There's
Okay.
6 or 7.
So we're just missing Mr. Pronk. Correct?
And I don't think he'll care.
Correct. So Mr. Sidlowski is making a suggestion we move forward with this. Can I poll the remainder of the board members? Mr. Franzuto, shall we move forward with election of officers?
Sure, why not?
Okay, Mr. Brace?
Sure.
Okay, Mr. Bossy?
Yes.
All right, Ms. Andrews?
I think so, yes.
Okay. So do we have a nomination for chairman? We start with chairman, Mr. Brace?
Yes.
Okay.
I nominate you, Andy.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
Second that.
All right. I'll accept the nomination. I enjoy what I do. And I hope I serve you all well as board members.
I guess you would want to say,
Boris.
you'd want to say, are there any other nominations for?
Are there any other nominations for chairman? Not hearing any. Shall we take a vote? All in favor of Mr. Sidlowski's nomination, Ms. Andrews, or was it Mr. Sidlowski who nominated?
Andrews nominated.
Ms. Andrews nominated. Who seconded her nomination?
I did.
Tom seconded. All right, so a roll call vote in voting in positive manner of Mr. Lowell being chairman, Mr. Brace,
Aye.
Mr. Franzuto,
Aye.
Mr. Sidlowski,
Aye.
Mr. Bossy,
Aye.
Ms. Andrews.
Aye.
Okay. Do we have a nomination for vice chairman? I love
Is there a
Mr.
vice
Franzuto
chairman?
being right there for me. I would nominate Mr. Franzuto to remain in position as vice chairman.
I would second
I'll
that.
second that.
Mr. Franzuto, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
I'll take a roll call vote. All in favor of Mr. Franzuto continuing as vice chair? Mr. Brace? Mr. Sidlowski?
Yes.
Mr. Bossy?
Yes.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Mr. Lowell votes yes. I believe you're the vice chairman, Mr. Franzuto.
Thank you.
Nominations for secretary?
I nominate Mr. Brace.
I'll second that nomination. Mr. Brace, do you accept the nomination?
Accept.
Any nominations for anybody else? Not hearing any. I'll take a roll call vote to appoint Mr. Brace as secretary. Mr. Franzuto,
Aye.
Mr. Sidlowski,
Aye.
Mr. Bossy,
Aye.
Mr. Lowell says aye. Ms. Andrews?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Brace is nominated secretary. Mr. Franzuto, vice chair. Myself, Andrew Lowell, chair. Thank you all for that. And is there any other questions or comment? Any questions or comment on the entire meeting? Items you'd like to speak about at the next meeting? What are we going to focus on if August is a workshop, Mr. Brace?
Did we want to do liveaboards?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a stretch if we think we're going to get liveaboard, if we're going to get, well, it's not a stretch. We got a month, but hopefully we could get some of the actual liveaboard people in here, the ones that we respect, that we know that follow the rules, like Chuck Colley and Floppy and I don't know who else.
Rank.
You know, 2 or 3 guys to join the meeting, and whoever wants to speak to them, who's on the water more than I am, that can couch that question that we want to make some changes and we need their help and their advice, and so don't want to scare them away. Don't want to scare them away, but we want to let them know that we value their opinion because they've lived on.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I can reach out to those guys. I don't know if Bob Rank is living on his boat this summer or not, but I can also reach out to them and just explain to them what we're trying to do, that we are, advocating for their way of life, if you will, and would they be willing to participate on August 4th? And I'll send an email to you. Peter, can I send an email to the whole board?
Informational, I believe, but not, we can't comment. We can't respond.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I can send an email to the board saying if I was successful or not.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. And maybe I'll give an update about this parking debacle at the same time.
Right. It's just that we can't all discuss it
Okay.
Right.
as a group by
I can-
email, because that constitutes it constitutes an open meeting law violation. It's all of us talking online without a meeting being announced and
Okay.
publicized.
But I can send an update to everybody.
Sure.
Okay.
I also have
Go ahead, Mr. Bossy.
Thank you. I have some work that I did back in January on this, so I'll send that around to everybody right before the meeting so a little something to talk to. I put together, based on, we discussed a number of different locations and what they did. So I kind of took the best from each of them and put them into a sample application. And maybe that'll give us just something we can point out and say, no, that's ridiculous, or just something to talk to about it. So I'll send it around to everybody.
And if
Franzuto.
it would be helpful, I can resend what's interesting, Dave, is I just looked at what you gave us the last time.
Okay.
Today, I was in a folder and I just happened to look at it, but if it would be helpful to send the current liveaboard regulations around again, I can do that also.
That would probably be a good idea. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. I'd appreciate that as well. I hate to beat this dead horse, but for some reason, Mr. Brace, for some reason, something in my head saying that during a workshop meeting, we couldn't have public comment participation. Am I wrong again? Please correct me.
No, it's not that we can't have it.
Okay.
It's that we can decide not to have it. We can decide that we as a group want to meet and we want to discuss whatever we want to discuss, a certain topic, without the distraction of people raising their hand every 10 minutes and making it we don't have to do that. And
Yeah.
we want we want those liveaboard people to come and discuss. So,
Yeah.
But if we wanted to, if there was some issue that we really had to hash out, we don't have to have public discussion.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that people can't attend the meeting, so it's not an executive session. People can attend the meeting and watch, but we would just tell them that we're not going to be accepting any public comment. This is
Well, I mean, if we can get Chuck Colley, Floppy, and whomever else we can get involved in this, we certainly want to have their opinions. We want to hear from them. This is what this meeting is going to be based on. It should obviously be important to them to be heard.
right.
It's important to us for the sake of the environment and to keep disasters from happening in the future, for us to work this out and resolve this issue and hopefully make an adjustment to regulations that make a difference.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So it may not be considered that August is the right time for this. I mean, we really need to have Marine Department participation on this. So we do have a month, and I'm going to take this earlier portion of the month instead of waiting till the later portion of the month and see if we can get some representation there from the Marine Department so that we can move forward with this issue. It's very important and now more so than ever, really. So,
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Franzuto.
Yeah, so I'll find out who's living out there. That's relatively easy. But I hesitate to say this, but I have a feeling that, even though we have a workshop in August and get those guys' inputs, I think you're looking at fall to be, making some progress on this. And then, you're going to either have to do it with a regulation change with a public hearing or a bylaw change for the town meeting. But I would recommend a regulation, but
All right.
just because it's easier.
I guess, I'd probably sounded overzealous there, and no, this is just breaking the ice. So the least we can do is have a couple of liveaboards there willing to participate with some opinion. That'll be good for us, and we can digest that and work on it from there.
Sounds great.
Okay. If there isn't anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn made and seconded. All in favor, Mr. Brace,
Aye.
Mr. Franzuto,
Aye.
Mr. Sidlowski,
Aye.
Ms. Andrews,
Aye.
Mr. Bossy,
Aye.
Mr. Lowell, aye. Our meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks for
See you in
being here.
August.
Thank you.
guys.
Have a good night.
All right, you all
Bye.
as well.
Good night.
Good night.